Hey, all you cinema buffs out there, I'm Dennis Stack, bringing you another entry into my Stephen King movie review series. So I brought you my second favorite Stephen King. Last week I reviewed The Dead Zone, a Stephen King movie I haven't seen before. And this week I'm bringing you the review for my least favorite, in my opinion, of the ones that I've seen, the worst Stephen King movie. And the clue was a typewriter. I know that's incredibly vague, and I'm sorry. After watching the movie, it's also incredibly misleading because this writer doesn't use a typewriter; actually uses a computer with a word processor. So, my apologies. But this character being Mort Rainey from my least favorite Stephen King movie, Secret Window. All right, for those of you who aren't familiar with Secret Window, Johnny Depp plays this character who's kind of going through like a personal crisis, and while he's going off to this cabin in the woods to like escape from all of his problems, he encounters a new problem where John Turturro's character, Shooter, claims that Johnny Depp's character stole his story, and he wants him to correct it, change the ending, and fix this wrong that he's done. And so I just gotta say, this movie is just it's a lot of weird things in this movie. Right off the bat, there's weird camera choices. Like it starts with this like long opening shot where it's kind of like going through the entire cabin, and then like it goes into like a mirror, like or almost seeing things in a mirror image or a mirror world, and it kind of like brought like mystique to the cabin he was in. But this movie has nothing to do with the cabin. There's nothing really supernatural about this movie, and it just didn't fit the movie. And also like these weird camera choices, these very cinematic kind of artistic uses of the camera. It's in the beginning of the movie, and then there's nothing left. Like it's not like it was throughout the movie. So it's just kind of a weird way to start off. And speaking of weird, this is one of the weirdest Johnny Depp performances. And it's not like he's playing a weird character. He's not some eccentric, Tim Burton character or anything like that kind of weird. He's playing a normal guy, but he's got like all these weird tics. Like when he's reading, he's got like these weird kind of like almost Jack Sparrow-y facial tics, and it shows. And it's like, who's he doing that for? It's like he's almost aware of the audience and the camera and the movie itself, but it's not like this movie's meta. So once again, just weird choices that just don't fit the entire narrative of the movie. And not only is this performance weird with Johnny Depp, he's the lead character. You're going through this movie mostly with him. Like there are chunks of this movie where it's just him. He has a lot of dialogue to himself. He talks to his dog. Just a lot of filler dialogue. And you're supposed to really go through the story with this character, but he's kind of an asshole. Like whenever he talks to his ex-wife, he's really, I mean, they show in the beginning that his ex-wife cheated on him, so I mean, I guess he's got reason to treat her shitty, but like treats the neighbors shitty. Even one of the waitresses, like she says, or not waitress, his cleaning lady, she's doing something, she's just like talking to him, making conversation, and when she walks away, like he makes a weird gesture to her, like almost like this. And it was like, who's he doing that? He's the only one in the room. Once again, it feels like he's kind of aware of the camera, and it just didn't fit the movie. And so once again, he's an asshole, and you just can't really sympathize with him in this journey. It's like maybe he did steal the story. He treats that guy like shit, just like he does everybody. It's just maybe just he's done so much terrible things that he doesn't remember doing this terrible thing of stealing the story. And so I just really couldn't sympathize with him. It's just I watched this movie when it came out, and I went and saw it. I didn't see it in the theater, but I remember renting it with a couple of friends and watching it. And while they enjoyed it, it's just like I just thought this movie was kind of bland, just boring. I couldn't get invested in the character. There's these weird choices, and it's one of these things where I saw the twist coming a mile away. I will talk about the twist at the end and get into some spoiler territory if you haven't seen this movie and you are interested in seeing it. But there are some things that do work in this movie, but kind of just still don't work in the end. Like his wife's new lover, he's like an asshole. He's perfect kind of douchebag new boyfriend. He gives you absolutely no reason to like him. And it would help to build sympathy for Johnny Depp if he also wasn't an asshole that you just really don't care about. So it's like, man, that works in this movie, but it just works to the disadvantage of the movie because once again, you can't get invested in the main character. So there are some things like I said those like really swooping, overly cinematic shots in the beginning were distracting, but there is some nice camera work in here. It's not overly cinematic, but it's just well done, and I think that the score works really well. And I do like John Turturro's performance. I just don't like his character, especially when the twist is revealed, which we will get into right now. So I'm going to throw up a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the movie, you want to, stop the video right now, go watch the movie and come back. But in the end, it's revealed that this character, or this guy who's antagonizing Johnny Depp, claiming that he stole his story and kind of tormenting him, is a figment of his imagination. Kind of a character that he created in his head where he didn't perfectly end this story. So it's like this internal tormentor telling him, motivating him to correct this story, to come up with the perfect ending. And this movie came out at the wrong time. It came out in the era of Fight Club, Memento, The Sixth Sense, all these movies where there's this twist where the person they're looking for is themselves. And all the clues became apparent to me. Like, oh, anytime Johnny Depp and Shooter interact, it's just the two of them. No other witnesses or anything like that. And the dialogue kind of matches each other, and just like he springs up out of nowhere in these weird places. It was just very apparent to me. I just feel like this movie was just generic, bland, boring, and I'm sure there are worse Stephen King movies out there, but if they got a bad enough reputation, I'm not going to waste my time to see them. I've heard nothing but crap about Dreamcatcher. I'm sure it's worse than this movie. I mean, I've seen one that is filmmaking-wise worse, like Thinner. Thinner, I would say, is a lesser quality movie than this, but Thinner is enjoyably bad. There's some bad moments that, so bad it's good moments in that movie. And I'll watch that 10 times before I ever watch Secret Window again. Buffs. All in all, guys, I mean, you can tell, obviously I chose this as my worst Stephen King movie. I'm not going to have too many flattering things to say about it, but it's not a god-awful, terrible movie. The people who watch this and they enjoy it, I see why they like it. Maybe I just watch too many movies where I can see these twists coming a mile away, and my brain's the one to blame. But I will score this in our standard 1 to 10 scale, and I'm going to give Secret Window a 4 out of 10. Once again, not an awful movie, just when I think of Stephen King movies and what's the least enjoyable one, it's definitely Secret Window. Buffs. So that's it for my review of Secret Window. What'd you guys think of the movie? If I'm being too harsh on it, am I not being harsh enough? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all the support here at Cinema Buffs. And be sure to join me next week as I review my #1 Stephen King movie of all time. One of my absolute favorites. And the clue for that is a dead person. I know that's incredibly vague. It can be quite literally any Stephen King movie, but I don't really want you guys to guess. I want it to be a surprise. Who knows what dead person can be? Just think of all the ones that end up in these novels. I'll bring you that review next week, but until then, don't you forget, there's no place like the theater.